Mike. Vic was just saying he doesn't love Cooper being out there returning punts and playing D. Now that he's got a full role on defense. How does Cooper manage that? It's not an easy thing for a young kid.
No, it's not an easy thing for him. I think he manages it very well. He just stays locked in. He's always in tune. You know, it's great to have a support system that we have here in terms of Aaron Moorhead getting with him during practice. I'm sure you guys see him on Thursdays. You know, he's with Amo all the time, catching off the punts, off the jugs, doing drills. It's almost like a security blanket for him to have him there. But I think Coop does a great job, you know, of kind of compartmentalizing things from the defense to when he knows he has to be out there for punt return. And I think he's getting more confidence doing it in terms of returning, when to return, when to fair catch. So I think Coop's doing a really, really good job in terms of all that, in terms of kind of breaking up the two from defense and a punt return.
He has such a different body type than Britton. Does anything change with the rest of the unit when you have a different type of returner back there?
I don't think the body type really changes what we're trying to do. We're always trying to get north and south, you know, and gain as many yards as possible. And I think you saw that in that big return that he had against the Giants. You know, first of all, it all starts with the guys on the outside, Keely, Avante, and Isaiah. If they're able to spring him, get past that first wave, get that first 10 yards, then he can kind of break it to the outside. But, you know, talking with some people, you know, the difference really with Coop is he's kind of shockingly more stout than people give him credit for. And you saw him run through a few tackles. But again, you know, trying to tell him, you know, you don't always have to run somebody over. You can get out of bounds and save those hits on him, but just like anything else for a young guy like him, he's trying to make the most of the opportunity, and he's doing a good job thus far.
Michael, you're mixing up the kickoff guy. Sometimes it's Braden, sometimes it's Jake. What's the reason for that?
Oh, yeah, that's just, you know, a little game plan thing here and there. What can we do? What can't we do to keep guys off, you know, off balance? And at times, other coaches got to get ready for that. I know, you know, back in college, you practice a swinging gate. You may never do that, but it's an extra 2 to 3 minutes you got to get ready for. So just things of that nature, you know, some things that we have, and it's always a luxury when you have two guys that can't kick off with Braden and Jake, but they're doing a great job thus far.
During this 21-day window for Anias Smith, what have you seen from him in terms of the special teams part of his game?
Yeah, you know, it's exciting to see those guys when they do get that window open up to see what they get back to being healthy 100%, and, you know, just get that confidence of playing football again. I think Anias has done a good job. You know, I've kind of thrown him in there on the scout team as the returner just so he could feel it, you know, get that live game rep against the guys that will go out there on Sunday. But again, you know, just to see his confidence go from day by day, and, you know, he talks a little bit more, gets a little more acclimated with the game plan, how a week goes throughout the year. So it's always exciting when the guys have their window open, just like when Sidney had his window open. You know, you're excited, you know, he's chomping at the bit to get back out there.
Both the teams having to prepare differently for a different kickoff. What do you see in the differences between Jake Elliott kicking off and Braden Mann kicking off?
Yeah, you know, they all bring different things. You know, I think Braden does a great job of using power when we have to neutralize returners. And I think Jake can have power, but he also has some finesse game, a little bit more of a different kicks that he can use. Not that Braden can't do it, but I think Jake, you know, obviously being a kicker by trade, has a little bit of that. But again, it's just something we have in our back pocket. If, you know, if we get into those situations where we do like a scenario where we can use Jake and put the ball wherever he wants to put it.
Last week you talked about eliminating catastrophic plays. How did you approach that last week? And how do you feel like special teams performed in that regard?
Usually when you don't have a catastrophic play, you're pretty good. I'm not too happy about the penalties we had because those are just mental penalties. You know, I think we addressed that yesterday in terms of us special teams wise, that we got to eliminate those 5-yard penalties that, you know, they add up in terms of that, you know, and some things we just got to learn from. And I think the young guys and the veteran guys, they all understand how much penalties affect special team wise in the long run in the hitting yardage. So again, we got it now, you know, okay, you eliminate the big catastrophic one, but you got to eliminate the 1,000 paper cuts that will end up getting you at some point. So we still got to put together a complete game, but, you know, obviously they played hard, they played physical out there. We just got to eliminate some of those mental errors that we had.
Have you had to talk with Nick at all about, hey, there could be times where I want to sub out Cooper as the returner because he is playing defense? So far as that conversation been had?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that thought in your process, but you also got to look at the big picture of, you know, all right, there is a big play to be had. You would like to secure the ball. And you can always tell the guy, take a fair catch, so he doesn't take the hit, but you still always want to secure the ball. You never want to put the ball at risk, especially in a game that happened on Sunday, you know, a big enough lead. You don't want to put your defense backed up right there. So there's always different things we could talk about, like, hey, let's just take the hits off him, let's secure the ball, and let's get out of there.
Could you see Cooper still having a role as a punt returner when Britton is eligible to come back?
Yeah, there's always, it's always a luxury when you have two viable options back there. Obviously, they both have, they've both started off with good averages thus far. Coop, he's starting to get up there with his average. I know he averaged about 15 last game, and I think it was like 13 the previous game. And Covey, I mean, he was up there as a top 3 punt returner last year. So it's always nice you have luxury that you can now do things in your game plan that you may not have been able to do. Very similar to, back in the day when New England had double returners with Edelman and Amendola right there. You got some opportunities, but again, we'll cross that bridge when we have to. We're hoping Covey gets back healthy and speedy recovery. But again, we're very confident in Coop going forward.
Michael, what's it like to have Sidney back, and what does he bring to your group? And it seemed like he really didn't miss a beat out there.
Yeah, having Sidney back, it's awesome for him. To go back to the field where the injury did happen a year ago, and him to not bat an eye at it. That's awesome. It's a testament to him to get back and, the rehab, the trainers here to get him back as soon as possible, then go out there and, he had a huge block in the punt return game to spring Coop. Then he had that tackle at the 20-yard line on punt gunner. So again, it's just him to get back out there. It's a sense of freedom when a guy gets to play in between the white lines again, and to have that energy and that physicality. You could teach a lot of things, but you can't teach the physicality that Sidney brings and the energy he brings. So again, we're happy to have him back, and we're just going to keep building off this game.
Michael, do you like the new kickoff formation? Is it something you think will last?
I take it day by day, Merle. I'll see what they want us to do, but it's obviously something that we're able to get a little bit more coaching in. So again, once they make a decision down the road, we'll play whatever they want to play.
Since he returned one, how much can you learn from that? How much do you think you figured out kickoff coverage at this point?
Yeah, you can always learn, not just from the Cincy game. Obviously, we're getting prepared because Charlie Jones is a darn good returner. He had a punt return last year against Baltimore. Then he had that 100-yard to start the game against Cleveland. So you always want to learn, the technique stuff. How do we corral this guy? But you also look across the board what the NFL is doing, because, a lot of the times, what's the flavor of the year? What's the return that's happened the most, and how do you learn off that? And you study your peers. Who's top dog in kickoff return? Who's top in coverage? What are they doing? And you try to sprinkle some stuff in. When push comes to shove and we do have to cover, we got to get these guys rolling. And I know we've only had about 3 opportunities to do that because our kicker's done a good job of neutralizing them. But when they've covered them down well. But we can't take a day off and think, all right, this ball's going out the back of the end zone every time. We got to be ready to make sure we use our fundamentals and techniques and tackle. A lot of the things are coming down to tackle, get these guys down in space.
Big picture special teams questions, not specific to your team. Jake was drafted by Cincy. Obviously didn't make it, ended up here. And that happens for the large majority of kickers drafted. Why do you think it is that kickers don't kind of hang on with the first place typically? Yeah,
I think all of it's just based on the scenario they're put in. If you got a veteran guy and they're trying to bring you in competition, you always know the devil you do know over the devil you don't. But it happens, more often than not, unfortunately. But it is cool to see guys that do get that second opportunity and hang on and have a very good career that Jake's had. And again, very honored to have Jake on our team. And when we come back tomorrow for practice, can't wait to get him back out there and go through his routine like he usually does.
Going back to the penalties on the opening kickoff, it looked like Orem was just kind of ready to go right after the ball left the kicker's foot. How much do you feel like the old rules are still kind of ingrained in some of the guys, even especially some of the veterans?
Yeah, those veteran guys are so used to hearing that sound off the foot and they're ready to go. But again, we just got to be disciplined in that. Depending on first kickoff, second kickoff, we just got to be able to hold our water and not leave until the ball's been caught or hit the ground. So again, it's just trying to retrain those guys, and they've done a good job with it thus far. I know Keeley had that first one in the Green Bay game. We just got to eliminate those ones because again, ball at the 30, now the ball's at the 35. You get 1 first down, you kind of eliminate your punt return game. But our defense did a heck of a job getting all those sacks. But again, it's just trying to relearn it and everybody just staying calm for the moment. Then once that ball is caught or is hit the ground, we got to be able to take off like we're getting out the blocks on a track.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks.